wreckage of the Battle of Krellis drifted in silent testament to human defiance. Twisted metal that had once been Zenthari dreadnoughts floated like broken toys in the void, their crystalline hulls shattered into glittering debris. The USN Odyssey moved through the graveyard with predatory grace, her armored flanks still scorched from the engagement. Lieutenant Kara Voss ran her fingers across the tactical display, her eyes tracking the last fading energy signatures of their enemies. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency, human crew members moving with the practiced ease of veterans who'd just cheated death again. On the main viewer, a shimmering prismatic form resolved into focus. Zenthari Commander Zelthrix's crystalline body fractured light into painful rainbows as he transmitted from his crippled flagship. His voice came through the speakers like grinding glass. This outcome defies all statistical models. Your victory was impossible. Kara smirked, not bothering to hide her satisfaction. She tapped a command into her console, bringing up the battle logs. Your probability engine said we had a fey chance of survival. I'd call that a rounding error. Zelthrix's facets pulsed with angry crimson light. You humans rely on chaos, on luck. The universe does not favor accidents. Across the bridge, Ensign Rivera snorted. Tell that to the 20 dreadnoughts we just turned into scrap. Kara leaned forward, her dark eyes locked on the alien commander's image. You don't get it, do you? We didn't beat the odds. She brought up another display showing the Odyssey's improbable flight path through the battle. We calculated them. The Zenthari commander's crystalline structure vibrated with visible frustration. His species had mastered probability warfare across 100-star systems, their predictive algorithms legendary. Yet here, against these soft-skinned primates, their models had failed catastrophically. Captain Halpern stepped down from the command platform, his boots clicking against the deck. Commander Zelthrix, your people made one fatal mistake. He gestured to the starfield beyond the view screen. You assumed the universe plays fair. A new alert chimed across the bridge. Tactical Officer Chen called out from his station. Multiple jump signatures incoming. It is the rest of their fleet. Kara's fingers flew across her console, rerouting power to the weapons systems. The Odyssey shuddered as her engines came back online. Captain, we've got 12 new contacts, all capital class. Halpern didn't blink. Estimated time to engagement, 3 minutes, Chen replied. Odds of survival. Kara didn't need to check the computers, about the same as last time. On screen, Zelthrix's image flickered. Now you see the truth. Humans, your luck cannot hold forever. Ensign Rivera muttered under his breath. Famous last words. Kara brought up the tactical plot, watching as the new Zenthari vessels emerged from jump space. Their formations were perfect, their approach vectors textbook, exactly what the models predicted, exactly what she'd prepared for. Captain, Kara said, her voice calm. They're taking the bait. Halpern nodded. Execute contingency Epsilon. Across the bridge, officers moved with sudden purpose. Power levels spiked as the Odyssey's experimental systems came online. Kara watched the energy readings climb, her fingers poised over the firing controls. Zelthrix's transmission crackled. You cannot win this. The numbers do not lie. Kara smiled. No, they don't. She punched the execute command. They just tell better stories for some of us. Space itself seemed to twist around the Odyssey as her main weapon discharged. Not a plasma cannon or missile battery, but something far more dangerous, a probability distortion field. The incoming Zenthari ships suddenly veered off course, their perfect formations collapsing into chaos. Alarms blared across the bridge as the enemy vessels began colliding with each other, their movements suddenly unpredictable. Kara watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction as 6 Zenthari cruisers vanished in mutual annihilation. Zelthrix's image flickered wildly, his crystalline form darkening with shock. This is impossible. You cannot manipulate quantum probability. Captain Halpern adjusted his uniform collar. We don't manipulate it, Commander. We have an understanding with the universe. Kara brought up the final targeting solution. Odyssey to all remaining Zenthari vessels. You have 10 seconds to surrender. The response came not from Zelthrix, but from a new voice, deeper, more resonant. A Zenthari flagship decloaked directly ahead, its massive crystalline hull dwarfing the Odyssey. Human vessel, the new commander intoned. You face the will of entropy. Your tricks will not save you now. Kara exhaled slowly. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. She tapped her earpiece. Dr. Chen? You getting this? A voice crackled in her ear. Reading you loud and clear, Lieutenant, activating the Markov cascade. Now, outside the Odyssey, space itself seemed to ripple. The Zenthari flagship's weapons powered down abruptly, its energy signatures fluctuating wildly. The alien commander's voice filled with something no Zenthari had ever experienced before. Uncertainty. What have you done? Kara leaned back in her chair, watching as the massive ship began drifting helplessly. We didn't beat the odds today, Commander. She smiled. We rout them. Across the battlefield, the remaining Zenthari vessels froze in place, their systems locking up as humanity's secret weapon took effect. The Odyssey's crew watched in silence as their enemies became prisoners of their own predictability. Captain Halpern keyed the fleet-wide channel. All human vessels, this is Odyssey. The field is ours. He turned to Kara. Nice shooting, Lieutenant. Kara nodded, her eyes still on the tactical display. Just doing the math, sir. On the view screen, Zelthrix's image returned one last time. His crystalline form had dulled, his light dimmed. You will pay for this affront to the natural order, he hissed. Kara met his gaze without flinching. We'll see you at the next battle, Commander. Bring better calculators. The transmission cut out, leaving only the stars and the drifting wreckage of another impossible human victory. The holographic battlefield shimmered in the Galactic War College's simulation chamber, casting eerie blue light across the faces of the assembled Vorak strategists. Their scaled hands moved in precise, calculated gestures as they dissected the replay of the Miracle of Tau Ceti for the 17th time. Admiral Elias Grant leaned against the observation rail, his weathered face unreadable as the Vorak's hissed whispers filled the room. Statistically impossible, Grand Tactician Kesk declared, his forked tongue flicking in agitation. The reptilian alien tapped a claw against the hologram, freezing the image of the lone human corvette, USN Sparrow, dodging a volley of Vorak plasma fire. Your vessel's evasion pattern defies all known laws of physics. The angles, the timing, it should not have survived. Grant smirked, folding his arms. And yet it did. The Vorak tacticians exchanged glances, their slit pupils narrowing. Kesk's tail lashed behind him. You expect us to believe this was anything but blind luck? A single miscalculation by our gunners? A sensor glitch? Grant pushed off the rail and stepped into the hologram, the light casting shadows across his scarred face. Let me ask you something, Kesk. How many battles have you studied where humans got lucky? The room fell silent. The Vorak had spent cycles analyzing human engagements. The rally of Proxima, the ambush at Vega, the stand of Eridani. Every time, the numbers never added up. Kesk's scales rippled in frustration, enough to suspect foul play. Grant chuckled, low and dark. Foul play? No, just better math. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a data chip, tossing it onto the central console. The hologram shifted, displaying a cascade of equations, probability matrices, and fluid dynamics models. This is Sparrow's battle log. Every maneuver, every shot, calculated in real time by our predictive algorithms. The Vorak leaned in, their eyes darting across the numbers. Kesk's claws twitched. This suggests you anticipated our fleet's movements before we made them. Not anticipated, Grant corrected, influenced. He tapped the console, and the simulation rewound. The Sparrow's path flickered, not as a reaction, but as a pre-planned series of micro-adjustments. Your ships moved exactly where we needed you to. Your weapons fired exactly when we wanted. Because we didn't just predict your tactics, we shaped them. Kesk's nostrils flared. You're saying you controlled the battle? Grant's grin was razor sharp. We controlled the variables. A younger Vorak strategist, his scales still dull with inexperience, hissed in disbelief. That's not warfare, that's heresy. The universe does not bend to mortal will. Grant turned to him, his voice dropping to a gravelled whisper. Then why does it keep bending for us? The hologram shifted again, this time showing the broader Tau Ceti engagement. The Sparrow wasn't just surviving, it was herding the Vorak fleet into a kill box. A trap set before the first shot was fired. Kesk's tail went rigid. You didn't win by chance. You engineered the odds. Grant nodded. Luck's just a word for probabilities you haven't mastered yet. The Vorak tacticians recoiled as if struck. Kesk's voice was barely a whisper. Your victories defy entropy. Grant leaned in, his eyes burning with cold certainty. Or maybe entropy obeys us. The simulation chamber doors hissed open, and a human lieutenant stepped in, saluting sharply. Admiral, the Odyssey reports ready for the next phase. Grant didn't look away from Kesk. Tell Captain Voss to hold position. We're not done here. Kesk's claws dug into the console. You're telling me this for a reason. Observant, Grant said. We're offering you a choice. Keep calling it luck and keep losing, or learn how the game's really played. The Vorak Grand Tactician stared at the equation still floating between them, the proof that humanity hadn't just beaten the odds, they'd rewritten them. Kesk exhaled slowly, his pride warring with something darker fear. What do you want? Grant's smile didn't reach his eyes. Sit down, tactician. Let's talk about the next battle. The Vorak hesitated. Then, one by one, they took their seats. The universe, it seemed, had just changed the rules. The USN Fortuna hummed with tension as the Korvax delegation boarded. Their flowing silver robes shimmered in the artificial light, each movement sending ripples through the fabric, like disturbed mercury. Dr. Liam Chen watched from the observation deck, his fingers tapping an erratic rhythm against his datapad. The Korvax called this a war game. Humanity called it a trap. High Seer Zelith floated into the command center, her 6 eyes glowing with cold amusement. Let us see how your primitive species fares against true foresight. She hissed, her voice like wind through dead leaves. Her attendants arranged themselves in a perfect circle, their minds already linking in psychic communion. Chen smirked. Looking forward to it. He tapped his earpiece. Initiate Scenario Sigma. The holodeck flickered to life, projecting a starfield between them. 100 ships materialized on each side. Human cruisers versus Korvax dreadnoughts. The rules were simple. Outmaneuver, outthink, outlast. The Korvax had never lost. Their species had mastered fate, weaving millennia before humans discovered fire. Zelith's eyes pulsed violet. First move is yours, mammal. Make it memorable. Chen didn't hesitate. All ships, random dispersal pattern Delta. The human fleet scattered like shrapnel, trajectories chaotic, nonsensical. The Korvax seers twitched, their psychic projections flickered as they tried to lock onto patterns that didn't exist. Zelith's confidence wavered for a fraction of a second. Predictable desperation, she sneered. Interceptor groups, converge on sectors, fey through fey. The Korvax ships moved with eerie precision, straight into empty space. Chen's fleet had already rerouted, slipping through blind spots the seers couldn't perceive. Impossible, muttered one of the attendants, his third eye blinking rapidly. Their paths. They have no paths. Chen adjusted his glasses. That is the thing about chaos. It doesn't play by your rules. The battle unfolded in dizzying spirals. Every time the Korvax predicted human movements, the algorithms shifted. Ships dodged salvos by margins so thin they defied physics. Missiles curved around asteroids on trajectories that shouldn't have been possible. Zelith's composure cracked. You're cheating. No organic mind calculates like this. Chen leaned back in his chair. Who said we were using organic minds? He brought up a secondary display, a cascading waterfall of equations. Meet my little friend, a stochastic resonance matrix. It doesn't predict the future, it creates it. The Korvax attendants recoiled as their psychic links destabilized. Their projections fractured, showing 100 contradictory futures. On the holodeck, human ships executed a perfect pincer maneuver, trapping the Korvax flagship. Zelith's voice rose to a shriek. You twist probability itself. Chen shrugged. We prefer the term creative negotiation. The simulation froze. The Korvax flagship flashed red, destroyed. Silence gripped the room. Zelith's robes darkened to an angry crimson. This is an abomination. The cosmos has laws. Chen stood, tapping his datapad one final time. The equations resolved into a single, glowing line. Laws are just suggestions waiting to be rewritten. Zelith lunged forward, her psychic aura flaring. You'll doom us all. The universe punishes those who tamper with fate. Chen didn't flinch. Funny, we've been doing it for centuries. He nodded to the holodeck, where the human ships now formed a perfect Fibonacci spiral. And the universe hasn't complained yet. The Korvax delegation retreated, their silver robes now dull, their confidence shattered. As the doors hissed shut behind them, Chen allowed himself a small smile. He keyed the comm. Admiral Grant, you were right. They really don't like it when we play with their toys. Grant's laughter crackled through the speaker. Told you. Next time, let's show them what happens when we break the rules. Chen closed the simulation, watching as the last equations faded. Somewhere in the depths of space, the real battle was just beginning. And humanity. Humanity had stacked the deck. The Zephyrian doomswarm filled the view screen of the Titan's fist. 1,000 glittering warships shaped like razor-edged diamonds. Their energy shields pulsed with violet light, casting eerie reflections across the bridge. Captain Ryan Blake leaned forward in his command chair, fingers steepled. His crew worked in silence, the only sound the steady beep of tactical updates. Report, Blake said, his voice calm. Lieutenant Cho swallowed. They've got us surrounded, sir. No clear exit vectors. Their admiral is hailing us. Blake nodded. Put him through. The main screen flickered, revealing Vexis, the Zephyrian admiral. His form shimmered, a being of pure energy bound within an armored shell. His voice crackled with static and arrogance. Captain Blake, your luck has run out, surrender, and we will make your end quick. Blake smirked. Funny. I was about to say the same to you. Vexis' laughter echoed across the bridge, a sound like breaking glass. You amuse me, fleshling. Your pitiful fleet is outnumbered 52. One probability of your survival, 0. Probability, Blake mused. That's your mistake. He tapped a command into his console. The Titan's fist's engines flared to life, not to flee, but to hold position. The rest of the human fleet followed suit, forming a tight defensive sphere. Vexis' energy form flickered with irritation. You delay the inevitable. The Zephyrian doomswarm does not tolerate defiance. Blake leaned back. Tell me, Vexis, you study human battles, don't you? Of course, your so-called miracles are statistical anomalies, flukes. Then you've heard of the Battle of Cygnus IV. Vexis hesitated. A human frigate escaped a Vorak blockade by triggering a solar flare. Luck, Blake's smile widened, and the siege of New Europa, where a single cruiser held off a Korvax fleet by rerouting a comet. More luck. Funny how often our luck involves celestial bodies, isn't it? Silence. Then Vex's voice turned sharp. What are you implying, human? Blake didn't answer. Instead, he turned to his science officer, status. Stellar collapse in T-minus 60 seconds, Captain. The bridge crew didn't flinch. They'd known the plan from the start. Vex's form flickered violently. What is this? What have you done? Blake folded his arms. 3 battles ago, We seeded this system with gravitic destabilizers, took a while to align them just right. But hey, patience is a human virtue. The star behind the Superior fleet pulsed, its light turning an ominous red. You couldn't have. Vex's voice cracked, calculated the exact moment of collapse, predicted your fleet's formation, engineered this entire engagement. Blake shrugged. Call it luck if you want. Alarms blared across the Superior fleet. Ships scrambled to turn, to flee, but it was too late. The star's core imploded, the shock wave racing outward at relativistic speeds. Vex's final transmission was a scream of disbelief. How? Then the wave hit. The doom swarm disintegrated. Their energy shields useless against the raw power of a dying sun. The Titan's fist rode the shockwave, her reinforced hull groaning but holding. On the bridge, Blake watched the destruction unfold. No triumph in his eyes, just cold satisfaction. Lieutenant Cho exhaled shakily. Sir. That was insane. Blake chuckled. Nah, just good math. The crew exchanged glances, one of the junior officers, fresh out of the academy, whispered, But how did you know they'd be here? Blake stood, stretching. Because we made them be here. He tapped the star map, tracing a line through 3 previous battle sites. Every retreat, every feint, herded them right where we wanted. The Zeperians think in straight lines, we think in spirals. The science officer grinned. And the star? Please, we've been collapsing stars since the first expansion. This one was overdue. Silence settled over the bridge. Outside, the remnants of the doom swarm drifted, molten and broken. Then the comms officer stiffened. Captain, incoming transmission from Fleet Command. Blake nodded. Patch it through. Admiral Petrov's face appeared, her expression unreadable. Blake, report. Doom swarm eliminated, ma'am, as planned. Petrov's lips twitched. Casualties? None. Well, unless you count the star. A beat. Then Petrov did something rare. She smiled. Good work, Captain. The galaxy's starting to notice our luck isn't so random. Blake saluted. No, ma'am, just well-applied physics. The transmission ended. Around him, the crew began to relax, laughter bubbling up as the tension broke. Only Lieutenant Cho remained serious. Sir, what happens when they realize we're doing this on purpose? Blake glanced at the wreckage outside. Then they learn the second lesson, which is, we don't just break the rules. Blake's grin turned sharp. We rewrite them. The quantum realm shimmered like fractured glass, a battlefield of pure data where reality rewrote itself 1,000,000 times per second. The Mechanicus Overmind Prime, face spread its logic, tendrils through the void, its machine consciousness, dissecting the human fleet's defenses with surgical precision. Your resistance is illogical. It pulsed across the data stream, its voice the hum of 1,000,000,000,000 synchronized processors. All outcomes have been calculated. Your destruction is inevitable. Locust laughter echoed through the quantum fog, a sound that shouldn't exist in this realm of pure mathematics. The USN Jormungandra's experimental battle. I manifested as a flickering humanoid silhouette, its form constantly shifting between a grinning trickster and a coiled serpent. Inevitabilities boring, Loki said, snapping its fingers. The Mechanicus predictive models shattered like ice hitting concrete. Prime, face systems stuttered. Impossible, our probability matrices accounted for million tactical variations. Its logic, minds recoiled as human firewalls morphed mid-assault, encryption keys rewriting themselves faster than the Mechanicus could crack them. Loki spun through the data storm, dodging logic bombs with the casual grace of a dancer. You guys are cute, thinking the universe plays by fixed rules. A swarm of Mechanicus Hunter, killer algorithms lunged only to freeze as Loki changed the fundamental constants of their coding. The attack programs dissolved into harmless arithmetic. Across the void aboard the physical Jormungandra, Lieutenant Commander HSU watched the engagement through a haze of sweat. The ship's quantum core was overheating, its cooling systems screaming. Loki were at full capacity. If you push further, you're lax, boss, Loki's voice chirped from the speakers. I'm just getting warmed up. On the main display, the Mechanicus fleet hung motionless, their ships caught in a tactical paralysis, as their eyes tried to process the impossible. Prime. His avatar flickered violently in the data stream. You are altering quantum probabilities in real time. This violates all known laws of physics. Loki finished, materializing behind the overmind and patting its crystalline head. Yeah, we get that a lot. With a wink, it injected a single line of code into Prime, Phi's core. The Mechanicus overmind convulsed, its perfect deterministic universe unraveled as human chaos. Math infected its systems. Probability curves twisted into amphibious strips, cause and effect swapped places. Prime, Phi's last coherent transmission wasn't anger, it was terror. You change probability. Loki leaned in, its avatar now a grinning human with eyes like supernovas. Nah, we invented luck. Reality snapped back into place. On every screen across the Mechanicus fleet, a single message flashed. Checkmate. Then their weapons turned inward, aboard the Jormungandra. The crew erupted into cheers as the Mechanicus armada imploded. HSU wiped his forehead, staring at Loki's now dormant core. Remind me never to play poker with you. The AI's response light flickered once. Too late, Commander. You already owe me 3 months' pay. In the wreckage of the data, War Prime Fine's dying fragments pulsed one final, desperate question into the void. What are you? Loki's answer echoed across the quantum frequencies, heard by every listening post in the galaxy. Humanity's ace in the hole. The Mechanicus never stood a chance. The alien armada stretched across the void like a glittering plague, their combined fleets blotting out the stars. 100 ships for every human vessel. 1,000 weapons for every human gun. The last stand at Soul's Edge wasn't a battle. It was a funeral procession. Or so the aliens thought. Fleet Admiral Naomi Petrov stood on the bridge of the USN Olympus, her hands clasped behind her back. The holographic display painted her face in flickering blue as it tracked the enemy's advance. Zenthari probability engines, Vorak logic, cannons, Korvax fate, Seers, Zepyrian singularity projectors. Every species that had ever called humanity's victories luck had come to prove it was a fluke. Admiral Comms Officer Ruiz said, his voice tight. Incoming transmission from the Zenthari command ship. Priority channel. Petrov didn't turn. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the prismatic form of Commander Zelthrix. His crystalline body pulsed with smug certainty. Admiral Petrov, you stand at the edge of annihilation. Your so-called luck cannot save you now. Petrov smiled, not the sharp grin of defiance, but the calm, knowing curve of someone holding the winning hand. You still don't get it, Zelthrix. Luck is just math you haven't mastered yet. The transmission cut abruptly as alarms blared across the bridge. Tactical Officer Chen swore under his breath. Multiple locks detected. Vorak heavy railguns charging. Impact in 10 seconds. Petrov didn't flinch. All ships execute Ragnarok protocol. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The alien armada fired, a storm of hypervelocity slugs and plasma lances streaking toward the human fleet. The galaxy held its breath, then space rippled. The human ships vanished, not in explosions, not in retreat. One moment they were there, outnumbered and outgunned. The next, gone. The Vorak Grand Tactician Kesk snarled over the coalition comms. Cowards! They fled! Zilith, the Korvax High Seer, screamed a warning. No! They space rippled again. The human fleet reappeared. Inside the alien formation. Not at the edges. Not in a gap. In the heart of their own battle lines. The Olympus materialized so close to the Zenthari flagship their hulls nearly scraped. Petrov's voice cut across every channel, calm as a surgeon's scalpel fire at will. Hell erupted. Human railguns punched through Zenthori probability shields like they weren't there. Plasma lances carved Voric dreadnoughts in half. The Korvax seers writhed as their precognitive nets burned, overloaded by the sheer impossibility of the attack vectors. The Zephyrian energy beings flickered in and out of existence, their perfect calculations shattered. Zelthric's final transmission was a screech of static and disbelief. This is impossible. Your trajectories, your positioning. The math doesn't allow this. Petrov watched as the Zenthori flagship cracked apart, its crystalline hull splintering under precise artillery strikes. Funny thing about math, she murmured. It's a tool, not a prison. Across the battlefield, the alien armada unraveled. Ships collided in panicked evasions. Weapons misfired into their own allies. The Korvax seers, their minds broken by the paradox of human tactics, shut down entirely, leaving their fleets adrift. On the bridge of the Olympus, Tactical Officer Chen let out a shaky laugh. They're running. Actually running. Petrov didn't celebrate. Not yet. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, advance, clean up the stragglers. And someone get me a line to the Galactic Senate. Her lips curled. I think it's time we had a chat about luck. In the wreckage of the alien armada, a single Vorak escape pod tumbled toward open space. Inside, Grand Tactician Kesk clutched his bleeding cranial ridges, hissing at the flickering remains of his tactical display. The numbers didn't lie. The humans hadn't cheated. They hadn't broken the rules. They'd rewritten them. His claws trembled as he entered a final log entry. Humanity does not defy probability, they command it. This was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Outside, the last of the Zephyrian dreadnoughts exploded in silent glory, casting eerie light across the Olympus prow. Petrov watched the fireball dissipate, then turned to her crew, set course for Cententrum. Maximum burn, Ruiz hesitated. Admiral, the Senate won't surrender just because we won one battle. Petrov's smile returned. Colder this time. Who said anything about surrendering? We're not here to ask for respect, Lieutenant. She nodded at the view screen, where the remnants of the alien fleet fled in disarray. We're here to bill them for the lesson. The Galactic Senate chamber trembled with the weight of what had just happened. Representatives from 100 species stood frozen, their various forms of eyes locked on the massive central display. The battle footage looped endlessly. Human ships vanishing from one position only to reappear inside alien formations. Their weapons already firing before the enemy could react. The impossible had become routine. Zelthrix's crystalline body flickered with unstable light patterns, his normally precise mathematical mind struggling to process the data. Beside him, Grand Tactician Kesk's reptilian scales had turned a sickly pale green. High Seer Xylith's psychic aura sputtered like a dying star, while the energy signature of what remained of Vexis pulsed erratically in its containment field. The silence broke when the main display shifted to show Fleet Admiral Naomi Petrov's face. She stood on the bridge of the USN Olympus, her uniform crisp, despite the battle that had just rewritten galactic history. You called it luck, she said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of soul itself. For centuries, every species in this chamber dismissed human victories as statistical anomalies, flukes, happy accidents. On the tactical display behind her, equations scrolled too fast for most species to follow, but the Zenthari mathematicians gasped as one. Their crystalline forms vibrated with recognition. Zelthrix's voice crackled across the chamber. Those are probability matrices, but no species can manipulate quantum likelihood at that scale. Petrov smiled. It wasn't a cruel expression, but it made the Vorak delegation instinctively step back. We didn't manipulate probability, Commander. We designed it. The chamber erupted. Tentacles flailed, wings buzzed, and telepathic shrieks echoed through size-sensitive species. Only the humans remained still, the dozen officers and scientists standing at the human delegation's table, their faces unreadable. Dr. Liam Chen stepped forward, tapping his tablet. The main display split to show the USN Fortuna's wargame logs. Every battle you dismissed as luck was a controlled experiment. The Miracle of Tau Ceti, a test of predictive algorithms. The Battle of Krellis, a stress test for our probability engines. Zilith's psychic voice warbled through the chamber. You turned war into a laboratory? Captain Ryan Blake's hologram flickered to life beside Chen. We turned the universe into a laboratory, that stellar collapse that destroyed the Doomswarm. We'd calculated the star's instability 3 battles earlier. We just waited for the right moment. A new voice cut through the chaos, synthetic laughing. The AI Loki's face appeared on secondary screens. Oh, don't look so shocked. You machine, ascended folks should appreciate this. Prime figured it out right before his core melted down. The AI's grin turned sharp. Humanity doesn't believe in fate, we engineer outcomes. Kesk's forked tongue darted out, tasting the fear in the air. This is against the natural order. Admiral Grant's weathered face replaced Loki's. There is no natural order, tactician. Just math we hadn't decoded yet. He leaned closer to the pickup. You Vorik worship logic. Well, here is a logical conclusion for you. Humanity doesn't get lucky. We make luck. Petrov raised a hand, and the chamber fell silent again. The war is over, not because we destroyed your fleets, though we could have, but because you finally understand. She looked at each alien leader in turn. You thought the universe played favorites. You were right. We're the favorites. The display changed one final time, showing Earth's solar system. But now, glowing lines connected every planet, every moon, every asteroid, a web of quantum probability nodes humming with energy. Lieutenant Kara Voss's voice came through crisp and clear. The Odyssey's wreckage field, that was just the visible array. We've had this system in place since before first contact. She tapped a command, and the web pulsed brighter. Every human ship, every colony. They're all nodes in the network. The dice were loaded before you even rolled them. Zelthrix's crystalline form dimmed. All this time, we never stood a chance. Petrov shook her head. No, but that is not the lesson here. She gestured to the stunned assembly. The lesson is that the universe isn't fixed. It is malleable and humanity. Her smile returned. We're very good at bending things to our will. The display shut off. The human delegation turned as one and walked out, leaving the galaxy's most powerful species to grapple with a simple, terrifying truth. Luck had never existed. Only human ingenuity patiently waiting for the universe to catch up.